So Michigan versus Alabama. I got to tell you guys, the storylines in this game, if nothing else, that is what I love about this game. We have Michigan who, they've lost their last two games, but this is in my lifetime the best Michigan team I've ever witnessed, I think. I mean, they are just humming. They're doing a great job this season. And then you have Alabama and Nick Saban who have won their last six uh, playoff semifinal games. I had to make sure I said that right. Their last six playoff semifinal games. In fact, the only playoff semifinal game they've lost to is to Ohio State. So, can Michigan make it happen where they, double up with the Big Ten and give Alabama their only two semifinal playoff losses with Michigan and Ohio State? That would be quite the storyline as well. Jordan, we're going to push it to you first. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, you had to give yourself just that little pat on the back there. Didn't
I
you?
had
Like,
to.
hey, I respect it. I respect it. No, I'm with you. This game, like you said, there's storylines aplenty here. There's a lot of different ways in my mind you can look at a game like this. I mean, you can talk about the Nick Saban, the Jim Harbaugh, the Michigan struggles in a bowl game and how Saban's been so dominant. But to me, those are years past. And I want to look at this year's game and what this year's game is. And to me, there's a reason this point spread and this line is the way it is. And it's because these two teams are like mirror images of each other. They're extremely good defenses with offenses that can be good, but have struggled at times when they play better competition. And I think both offenses have some flaws. So to me, looking at this game, it's like that's why the spread is so small, because it comes down to the margins. Can JJ McCarthy use his legs more now that he's going to be more healthy? I mean, it was well documented the last few games of the year. He's pretty banged up, dealing with something with one of his legs. Can he make a few plays? Can Jalen Milroe make a few plays? And which defensive line and offensive line can control that line of scrimmage? Because that's where this game is going to be won or lost.
Oh, for sure. And I think a big part of this as well is I know everybody's going to talk about Will Johnson. He deserves to be talked about. Fantastic player, one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. I don't think he gets enough credit, especially because of his injury earlier this year where he wasn't able to play as much. However, I do think that Mikey Sanders still is going to play a huge part in this game. The dude is just a turnover magnet. I think sometimes his coverage can be a little questionable, but he makes up with it with all the turnovers that he's able to get. Dude is just a ball hawk, does a great job. And with how much Alabama likes to throw the deep ball, he's going to be integral in that pass defense to make that happen. Rajiv, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so first, I'd be remiss if I didn't say Alabama shouldn't be in this game, because I'm a very strong believer in what happened with Florida State was a complete mess. That shouldn't happen. But look, I think, like you kind of said, look, I think this is one of the best Michigan teams we've seen in a very, very long time. Generally speaking, Michigan has been one rung below Ohio State, but not anymore. And JJ McCarthy has done that. The defense has been there. They are a very consistent offense. The question I have is Alabama going to be able to pressure JJ McCarthy into making mistakes and into throwing incompletion? Now, Corum obviously is the guy. You've seen Maryland had a little bit of success slowing down Michigan to an extent, but realistically, no one has actually been able to slow Michigan down. So I think this is the year that Michigan kind of flexes muscles a little bit, and the Big Ten can finally stop losing these games for the SEC. And please, Michigan, no crazy mistakes like last year. Because both of your teams should have been playing each other last year, and it drives me crazy that that's not the case.
Boy, could you imagine the storylines if that would have happened?
Oh, my gosh, absolutely. I absolutely think that this really comes down to how much pressure can Alabama put on JJ McCarthy? Can the Michigan offensive line hold up, protect the pocket a little bit, and give McCarthy time to throw? Because if you do, he's going to find weapons. Blake Corum is going to get his carries, and I think Michigan has the advantage there, but it really comes down to that pass pro.
I was going to ask you about that, Jordan. Go ahead really fast. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you say pressures, and I think the biggest key to that is Michigan staying on schedule, because like it's no secret, our tackles have been bad against speed edge rushers, and Alabama's got two of them that are really good in that speed to power.
Really good.
So it's important to stay on schedule. But I mean, to me, that comes down to being creative in your running game and not being as predictable as what they have been. Let's be honest, Michigan's offense at time has been very vanilla in what they've done with mostly with their their run calls. I mean, they run a lot of duo concepts. They ran a lot more pin and pull last year, but it's been most of that duo concept this year. And if you know and your gap sound in that, you can really take that apart. So
Yeah, I think a big part of me for this game is the Zach Center not being there, which, really hope that he heals up. He's going to be a fantastic NFL player. That was absolutely devastating to see him go down. I didn't like the play after that in the Ohio State game, but, that was, that it is what it is. But I was going to ask you, Jordan, what are your thoughts about Trevor Keegan moving to guard? I assume he is. And then what is it, Henderson going out to be the right tackle? Do you have any thoughts or concerns about the pass pro with Henderson being out there or the run game? I don't really think it's a big problem for the run game. I have more concerns about the pass pro. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's actually Carson Barnhart is moving from right tackle to right
Barnhart.
guard,
Okay.
and Ladarius Henderson and Trevor Keegan are left tackle, left guard, and then
Gotcha.
Trente Jones actually inserts to right tackle. Carson Barnhart's a true guard. Like when he goes to the NFL, the only shot he's going to have is to play guard. He's the one in the Penn State game that was just getting absolutely murdered off the line of scrimmage, and that's why Michigan stopped throwing the ball because he couldn't pass block. So in that sense, it's better because Trente Jones is a better overall tackle. He's just not a better overall player. So, but obviously you lose your best offensive lineman in Zach Zinner, and that hurts. So it will be a step down. But I think as far as like the true busts that we saw with like the Penn State game with Barnhart, I think those are limited a little bit because Trente Jones is a little bit better of a tackle as far as pass pro goes.
Yeah, great insight there. We got a comment from the Ohio podcast. I agree with Rajiv 100%. This should be FSU in this game. I agree as well. And of course, he has to put his Roll Tide in there. So I'm right. I'm right there with you, Ohio podcast.
I think I should have wore my Michigan versus everybody shirt tonight. I feel like I got the wrong one on tonight.
I think every Michigan fan has one of those right now, right? They're just like giving them away. Rajiv, your thoughts on this game with who do you think ultimately will win? I'm not asking for a betting pick or anything like that, but who do you think ultimately will win, and what do you think will be the difference to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just tired of seeing Alabama do anything in the college football playoff, and I'm excited to see the Big Ten actually perform. And I think, no offense, JR, this is the Big Ten's best team. The Big Ten has put out their absolute best in Michigan. They deserve it. Yeah, I mean, look, this team is really, really good. I think Michigan wins this game. I think they win it close. I'd say like between 6 and 7 point margin. I think Blake Corum is going to be the guy that I think really puts them over the edge because while Alabama has got a really good rush defense, Corum is a different kind of guy. And if he can get carries early, which I'm assuming that he will, then I think JJ McCarthy is ultimately the difference guy. Because when you look at McCarthy and Milroe, I don't think it's really close. I think McCarthy's the better quarterback. I think where the coaching edge, I think clearly kind of goes to Alabama with Saban versus Harbaugh and everything that Michigan's dealt with this year. But let's just face it, Michigan's the better team on paper. And I think after what happened last year in the playoff and the disappointment that they had, this is the year they push through. I think Michigan wins by 6.
The bettors would agree with you. I don't know about the point total, but they would agree with you that Michigan is a better team as well. Michigan's favored by 1.5. And, when we talked about this early on, I said, I think Alabama's going to win. Now, part of that was it also came right after the Ohio State loss. And I had to cope with that, obviously. And I know that word gets overused on Twitter, but if we're being honest, that's what I had to do. As I look into this game more and as I try to be, a little bit less biased and those things, I do think that Michigan has a very good chance of winning this game. I am ultimately going to pick Alabama. Call me biased. Fine, whatever. I am ultimately going to pick Alabama. And simply because Nick Saban, with all this time to prepare, all this time to make things happen, I think he's the difference, right? As I quoted before, 6-0 in his last 6 semifinal games. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You give this guy time to prepare and make things happen, but I don't think it's a given. I'm probably like 55% Alabama. Earlier, I was probably near like 70-75%, but I've gone back and I said, you know what? Michigan has a really good shot of winning this game. I would not be surprised at all if they win. Jordan, I assume you're going to tell me why I'm wrong, so go ahead and just tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, obviously, being the Michigan fan, I do think Michigan wins this game.
Right.
For any gambling degenerates out there, I like the under in this play. As long as it stays kind of where it's at, starts moving down any bit, then you might want to stay away. But I do like the under in this game because I do think these two defenses are the two best units on the field. But the main thing I like about Michigan in this game is they're just so old. These guys have all seen it. All these guys have faced the 2 bad defeats they had in the playoffs the last couple of years, and they know what it feels like to be in these games. You're not dealing with a whole bunch of freshmen and sophomores out there that are just eyeing the NFL. You got a bunch of old dudes who have felt it and been through the fire. So I like Michigan. It's going to be a close game. Turnovers are going to decide it, which quarterback stays clean. But I'm going to take Michigan, and that's head and heart at the same time.
And I do think that what happened last year and how close Michigan was to making it to the title game actually will have an effect. Like those players remember that, and being in that game just last year and feeling that disappointment, I think will help be that little extra bit that pushes them over the edge.
I hope so.
It's going to be very, very interesting. I'm so excited to watch this game. I think it's going to be a great game overall. And, rooting interests aside, it's just going to be so much fun to watch. 2 amazing teams, 2 great matchups. It's going to be fun to watch, and I'm excited for it. Hey, thanks for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.